Hey everybody, Zach Cook here with your weekly Habs report. I want to dive into exactly what happened this week with the Montreal Canadiens. They played the Edmonton Oilers twice and split those games, and they lost 2 games versus the Calgary Flames. I want to look at why they lost those 2 games versus the Calgary Flames, and the first thing that came to my mind, and it's presented by the stats, is exactly why they lost those games. And they lost them because they can't have any adjustments with what the Flames are doing in the neutral zone. The Canadiens are a team that plays well in transition, and the Flames have completely clogged the neutral zone and made it very difficult for this Habs team in transition. And Dominique Ducharme and company, as a result, they haven't had any adjustments and they haven't figured out how to solve this Flames team in the neutral zone, and that's resulted in 2 losses. Now the Flames are just 4 points back of Montreal. The Habs have 1 game in hand, but the 2 teams also will collide again on Monday. It's a very tight match here down the stretch for this Canadiens team, and I don't have a lot of faith in what they are doing right now. They aren't relying on the kids like they should be. They're relying on the veterans, and that's not exactly getting them anywhere. So the Habs need to figure things out here quickly, and if they don't, they might not even make it into the postseason where Marc Bergevin thinks they can make some noise. So let's talk about Marc Bergevin. Marc Bergevin is the general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. And Marc Bergevin has won a lot of trades as GM of the Montreal Canadiens, but you know what he hasn't won? A lot of playoff series as general manager of the Montreal Canadiens. And he's had too much time to be able to justify not winning the amount that he should be as Canadiens general manager. This is one of the most historic, if not the most historic franchise in the NHL, and it's bound for success. This team needs to have success, and they aren't having success right now. This is a team that has a bright future ahead of them if they do things responsibly, but right now, I don't trust Marc Bergevin to do those things responsibly, and I think they need a new voice in the hockey ops department, and I think Marc Bergevin really has to go, especially if the Canadiens collapse down the stretch here. Whether it's Marc Bergevin or someone new at the helm in charge of the Canadiens next summer, one thing is very clear with this team: they need to rework their blue line. I wonder if Seattle could come into play with this. They could potentially incentivize this Seattle team to take one of their older stay-at-home defensemen, because it's very clear that you need puck-moving defensemen in 2021 to be able to be successful. I like Joel Edmondson and the impact that he's had on the Canadiens this season, but the thing is the Canadiens have too many Joel Edmondsons and they don't have enough puck-moving defensemen, and the results have showed that this isn't a recipe for success in 2021. Now, this wasn't meant to be a video just looking at the negatives of what Marc Bergevin has done lately, but you look at how he managed the trade deadline this year, and basically Cole Caulfield cannot get into the Montreal Canadiens lineup right now because of how he handled the trade deadline. And that's a big issue because this Canadiens team is lacking goal scoring right now and a big offensive punch up front. Caulfield could be that guy, and I think he really needs to get into the lineup. You look at what the Canadiens did over the weekend. Now, Paul Byron is day-to-day. Thomas Tatar is day-to-day. Jonathan Drouin is day-to-day with an illness. This team is very injured, and they can't add bodies right now because of where they are at with the salary cap, and that's a big issue, and you have to point at Marc Bergevin and the management in charge for that reason. The last thing I wanted to talk about in this video is Dominique Ducharme as head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. Well, let's be real, he's the interim head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, and that is a big difference between being the head coach. I really wonder if the deployment he's given some of the Canadiens up front and on the back end is tied to his title as interim head coach, and that's one of the reasons why we aren't seeing him make the adjustments that he claimed he was going to make as head coach of the Montreal Canadiens, because what we've seen so far is not an indication of that, and the Canadiens have really struggled as a result of lacking adjustments, and that comes down to what the head coach is doing and his deployment of his players. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, put your comments down in the comment section down below. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comment section if you think the Montreal Canadiens will survive and make the playoffs in this North Division. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.